Andrew and Adrian. And first of all, we'd like to ask you a question. How many languages do you speak? Okay.
3.
3. What are they, Neil?
Well, English, although some people deny it.
Okay.
Italian.
Right.
And I can manage a meeting in German.
Very good.
Just English.
Just English?
1.5 and a half.
Okay, Adrian, go for it.
French, Swahili.
French and Swahili? Okay, excellent. So those are the standard answers that anybody gives when we ask how many languages that we speak. But I wonder if there are other languages that we speak that we don't necessarily sort of immediately think of when we ask that question. So if you're medically trained, there's a specific language that you learn during your 5 or 6 years of medicine. You're medically trained?
Yes.
So you can speak that language? Just about.
You mean arrogant?
Oh, Adrian. Well, comes the academics. If you're academically trained, you learn a particular language. And if you have managerial training, you learn a language there as well. Gracia and I have been public health trainees for 2 years now. Is that about right? 3. Is it? 2 years now. And the seeds of this idea started last June when we went to the faculty conference in Scarborough. And it was an experience. And we sat on the train coming back feeling we kept coming back to was this idea of communications. First of all, internal communications, but obviously the faculty's got a new president now, and it is moving forward with things like that. And so we wanted to look at the wider communication sphere, and we wanted to look at how we engage with different types of media, and through the media, how we get our messages out to the population. We're called public health, but we don't often engage with the public in a language that they necessarily speak. So out of that, the solid, tangible idea formed of a public health media centre. And there is precedence for this. There is a science media centre. And if you haven't heard of the Science Media Centre, then they think they're doing a very good job, because the Science Media Centre is basically a broker between scientists and the media community. And so they're not about raising their profile, their own profile. They're all about ensuring that scientific messages that very intelligent people in the science community produce, know, and are very involved in can be disseminated in an easily digestible way to the public. So we thought, can we do this for public health? And we basically came up with the answer that yes, I think we can. We have some extremely intelligent people in public health. We have some extremely capable people in public health. And they produce masses of information every day. We have epidemiologists, we have statisticians, we have strategists, we have all sorts of people, right, from regional directors, people working in the DH, right down to community health workers. And they're all engaged in a process that we call public health, which can be quite nebulous, actually. But what we found happened is that sometimes all this information sort of ends up in either a holding bay, or ends up being disseminated around the public health community and never actually makes it out to the public, to the population that we're trying to engage with, that we're trying to sort of improve their health. That is actually what we're about, I think. So, the actual nuts and bolts of this process. We've got 7 very capable SPRs, 6 of whom are now my, what do we call them, board trustee members, I think. That's their name, they know how to hold me accountable. We are setting up as a charity. My fantastic training programme director has very kindly listened to my pitch and thinks that it has legs in terms of training. We've mapped some competencies, and I have to tell you there are huge amounts of competencies that I can tick off with this. I have got myself a supervisor in the form of Muir Gray, who's going to oversee me and make sure I don't go off and do anything too terrible.
Or make sure you do go off and do something.
Yeah, get arrested or whatever. And we start from January this year. In terms of funding, do you want to say what we're doing?
Well, we're applying for a welcome grant, which the deadline is coming up soon, and if we were successful in that, the funding would start in January.
We're also going to apply. We're just basically blitzing all the grants that we could possibly find that might be slightly relevant. So there's another welcome grant that has relevance to us in terms of we really could do with a press officer actually, so we're going to apply for some money for that. And then the Nuffield also has an open door grant which is for 100k, so we're going to apply for that as well. In terms of other funding, we are in talks with lots of key stakeholders. So we've talked to the faculty and we had some robust discussions about what the faculty currently does and what our added value would be, and we very much see them as partners. We don't see them as competitors, we see them as working with each other, and initial response has been really positive. So Lindsay Davis has been great, Paul Schofield has been great, and their advocacy guys have been great as well, so that's brilliant. We're opening negotiations with the Royal Society of Public Health, with the UK Public Health Association, with the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health Officers, all very key partners with third sector people, so Cancer UK, British Heart Foundation, all people who currently engage with the public in some way about public health messages. How are we doing for time?
Right.
Okay, so what is it that we're actually going to do on an everyday basis? If you've seen the Science Media Centre, then you're probably going to be able to answer this question. But the idea is we've got a plan for the next 12 months, which basically involves lots of networking. So as well as all our key stakeholders, which include the Department of Health, I forgot to mention them, we've had some interesting conversations, and their press office are being very helpful. We need really broad networks. We need to know where the information is, who's got it, and who is the expert, who are the people who really know what it is they're talking about in public health, because our role will be to broker a lot of the time, get the experts in the room, get the journalists in the room, and open the dialogue. We'll also be horizon scanning. Public health is a long-term issue, but there are very short-term deadlines in the media. By media, I don't just mean newspapers or television, we're talking about internet and all sorts of media these days. They're really short-term deadlines, so we need to be really on our game. And realistically, we've decided for the first at least 6 months we're going to be fairly proactive. We're not going to offer excuse me, a reactive service to journalists. We're not going to say we'll be on the phone 24/7, because we need to establish ourselves and understand what it is that we're doing. So we're going to start slowly. We're not going to push ourselves out there and risk all sorts of legal issues. The other thing we're going to do, so we'll engage with journalists through the experts, and we'll be organising a series of briefings next year. So part of our budget is to organise 5 briefings? 6 briefings, there we go, sorry about that. Organise 6 briefings around key public health topics. And for us, public health topics never go away, but in the media they come and go depending on what's happening, on who's producing what report, on what a celebrity's doing, all sorts of things. So it'll be a case of us understanding what's available in the public health professional arena, and understanding what's going on in the real world, if you see what I mean. So in terms of what we'd like from the Dragons, we don't necessarily want any hard cash, and I don't see any on the table, so that's unfortunate. But we would like any words of advice that you have. We understand that this is quite a mammoth project, and we don't take it lightly, and we definitely are looking to work with people and not against people, and we think that it hopefully can only work to improve the profile of public health and improve the health of the population. Thank you very much.